Now we're going to start looking at the ability to use 3D space in After Effects. So I have this object here, and at the moment it is just a regular two-dimensional object in a two-dimensional space. And so I'm going to make sure that I can see this little cube here. If I turn this on, notice that when I turned it on I also got an XY rotation, and if you look a little bit closer you can see that there's three arrows now. There's a green one which is Y. You can see when I hover over there you're going to see that, and here's X, and this is Z, and it's actually the same thing as this, but it's facing towards the camera. So if I select one of these arrows, let's say I take the Y and drag it, it's moving that way. And I can also collect the X, and then if I select this arrow, it allows me to move it back and forth in space. It's different from scaling it up. Okay? And so when you are working in 3D, you have to often look at it from multiple views. So you have the ability here to change it from one view to multiple views, and I'm going to select 4 views right now. Alright, so you've got one that's labeled Active Camera, front, right, and top, and notice that little icon here, this little thing is telling me which one is currently active. Okay, so there's a little bounding box, these yellow triangles, and if I select one of them I can change. There's other options other than these 4 things here, and this says right, top, front. So let's say I want to change the right to the left, so I come down to this pop-up menu and I'm going to change it to left. Okay, so if I select this layer right now, you notice when nothing is selected, the layer is not selected. You can't see these objects. If you look really closely, you can kind of see a line there. It's because this has no depth at all. It is a two-dimensional image. Let's go back over here. If I twirl this down, you're going to see that we have X, Y, and Z rotation. So if I take the X, and notice this is active camera. If I take the X rotation and I twirl it, notice what's happening when I'm looking at it from the top. Now as I'm twirling it down we can get to see what's happening. Okay, why do we have all these views? Well, sometimes when you have multiple things happening at the same time and multiple objects, it's very important to see where they are in relationship to one another. Okay, so if this is the Y-axis, I mean the X-axis, and now if I'm doing it on the Y, it's going to go this way, and then I can also rotate on the Z space. So here you can see that it's spinning as it goes. Okay, so let's say I wanted it to animate from here to there. And so as it's spinning, so let's go back to just one view at the moment. And that's going to always show me the active camera. Okay, so that's spinning over here. And if I wanted to rotate it, well, this can be rotated as well. So maybe I want to animate this guy doing something. Let's make N as my work area, and then let's just preview what's going on right here. So you can kind of see we've got this kind of interesting thing moving in 3D space. You could also clearly see that the thing has no thickness. Alright, so if I have multiple objects, let's go ahead and take another instance of this wheel and put it in here. Okay, at the moment it is a 2D object. Alright, so if I look at this in, let's say, 2 views for now, you'll see that you can't see this object in anything other than the active camera, because unless you identify it as a 3D object, you're never going to see it in anything other than the active camera. So I'm going to go and turn it on, and now you can kind of see that it has these 3 arrows, again, are here, and I can then take this wheel and I can change it up a little bit if I want to. So I can see it happening there. And each one of these things will behave differently in 3D space. So if I took another object, let's just take a movie for example. Let's put this in here. And let's go ahead and make it big. And I'm going to put it in the bottom of the stack so that the bike wheels are in front of it. Okay, so here you can kind of see that the point I'm showing you here, the video is considered a two-dimensional object. two-dimensional objects really don't behave the same way as 3D objects. You can't do things with it. I can make a video three-dimensional, and if I make, now to see what's happening over here, let's go to our 4 view. You can kind of see from looking at it from top down that the video, by default, it goes right down the middle. And right down the middle will also cut this thing in half. And so this is why you have to have multiple views, because it's very easy to not realize what's going on with the various objects. Let me swap this out with something not so dark so we can see things. Let's see if I have a brighter, let's use this, because I think it's going to look a little bit better. So here you can get a better view of what it looks like. So this video, it's 3D, but because we're looking at it from the top down, it's like a piece of paper hanging from the ceiling, and you're looking down at it, you're just going to see, you know, the thin line of that paper. And if I make it 2D again, it disappears from the 3D views, but it's going to be in the back for these other objects here. Okay? Once you create a 3D space, you have the ability to create a new, you go under Layer, New, Camera. Okay, and this is super powerful because it allows you to create a camera with a specific lens size. So we have wide angle to telephoto. So if I take a wide angle lens for now and just look at it, you can see that the active camera changed a little bit. And here's what the camera is looking like. Okay, let's go to 2 views for a second. And so I'll make this a little bit bigger. And so here's the camera, and here's its focal point. And so you can move it around and notice what's happening in the active camera. That'll be what it's going to render out. And so you can then take this object, and I'm going to go ahead and take the camera. Let's twirl down the options here. And I'm going to animate the position and the point of interest, and I'll move it through time. So if I take this camera and I move it through this, if I take the little blue arrow that's on this camera and I kind of move it through here, you can kind of see that, look what's happening from the top view, and so we're going right through these objects here. So if it goes through there, we can also at the same time kind of change what we're looking at. So maybe it's going through, let's move it further in time maybe. And let's go through here, and maybe it's going to maybe take this kind of weird angle there. All right, so let's see what's happening here. So you can kind of see the path that the camera's taking. Look at that. You can create some really cool motion graphics with just anything that you want to make use of here. And that video in the background is really just there in the background doing nothing. And it could behave as a 3D object as well, but I chose to do it like that.